Chapter 24. I wanted to honour my part of the bargain, I really did. I gave it my best shot and managed to stay mostly clean for the next few months. It was a funny sort of clean though, because I was still on a lot of medication and living some weird sort of edgy paranoid reality, one foot still in the land of crazy. I still had the AIDS cure recipe with me at this point. I was still adding to it, and I was certain there were people sitting in cars out the front of the house keeping an eye on me. I could hear strange clicks on the telephone line too. Was somebody listening? Were they after the recipe? I needed to heed Murray's advice on keeping a low profile in case of what? I wasn't sure. My mind constantly embroidered things to be frightened of, and the recurrent nightmares over this time did nothing to alleviate the ongoing fear and anxiety that the psych drugs were working overtime trying to control. So I was out of hospital and out of rehab. What to do with myself now? This was a big question. How does a person rebuild a life after such a public and severe immersion into insanity? I had nothing to go on. Except for my family, there was nothing left in my life that had carried over from the life I had lived before my breakdown. By this time I'd not had a job for 2 years. I'd left my life in the city and the friends I had there, and now I was abstaining, or trying to, from the one consistent strand in my life, cannabis. Was there some sort of manual I could read, like How to Get a Life, Step by Step, or Crazy No More, The Secret to Living Like a Normal Person? No, there was not. This was still a time when nobody really thought a person could recover from such a dire position, let alone have written a book about it. Taking some responsibility for myself, as is expected of adults in the outside world, proved a challenge. Through my illness and subsequent treatment, I'd lost touch with some basic living skills such as preparing a meal. I didn't know why that had been blanked out, but I wasn't very hungry either, so I didn't eat much. My brother bought me a tin of what we called the fat drink, and I was able to mix the powder in the blender and throw in some bananas and at least have some sustenance whilst Mum was at work. It was demoralising to be so reliant upon her. I was lost. My best thinking had brought me to here. And did I really want to get well? I did, but I'll admit I had reservations about this. There was a certain emotional safety in the sick role and in being looked after, and I suspected that I would continue to be in and out of hospital because I didn't know what else to do. I still thought that the right doctor or the right nurses or the right pills would somehow fix me up and give me my life back. But it doesn't work like that. It works like this. There is a key. The key to staying out of hospital, the key that unlocks all the doors, to lock up, to semi-secure, to the whole hospital. A master key. I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to the person who handed it to me, and now I'm going to give it to you, as it happened to me. Yos came to visit me one day, not long after I'd come back from rehab. She'd been out of hospital for a few weeks, and she seemed fine. We were sitting outside in the sun, sipping tea, perfectly pleasant, but I was full of the poor me's. I don't know what to do, I can't handle things out here, I might as well go back to Rata, at least there I don't have to think, there's nothing left, I've messed up everything, etc., etc. And this is when she told me some truths that would alter the whole course of my life flow. Her words, to the best of my recollection, were, "The only person who can stop all this is you. There is no doctor, no nice nurse, no drug that is going to turn this around for you. You have to do it yourself. You can make this stop. You have to decide that you don't want all this anymore. The admissions, the over-medication, the fact that you're letting everyone else decide what is best for you. You have to make the decision that you want to get better. You have to decide to live, not just survive in this endless crisis that has become your life, but really live. You can do this. There is a life beyond insanity, but you have to choose it. It's up to you. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the only way. It's your choice and only you can make it. Take your life back before this goes too far and you can't come back, even if you want to." Of this last remark, I knew Jos was referring to the revolving door people who were littered throughout the layers of the mental health system. I thought of the Queenies, who might once have been able to make such a choice, but their lives and identities were by now completely defined by their diagnoses and status as patients, as sick people trapped in a perpetual cycle of ill health and helplessness. I thought of the Andrews, who would have given anything to be in an alternate reality to the path of official mental patient, trapped in the nightmare of legalities over which an individual has little, if any, power. I hadn't been able to see it until now, but Jos was right. I had to choose: professional psychiatric patient or a person attempting to recover and move on from this chapter as best I could. There were temptations to choosing the first option, for sure. In some ways it would be an easier path, always being looked after, rescued, having all responsibility lifted from me and being able to blame everything on my mental illness. I was reminded of the way Andrew would mock his situation by telling people who asked after him that he had a brain disease and they shouldn't stand too close because they might catch it. Having bipolar could be an excuse for all my bad behaviour, and I could live as a victim to it. But what would be the point? And would that mean that the paedophile had won? Did I want to hand the rest of my life over to him as well? Or was it time to draw a line under the whole sordid mess and turn myself into the victor, whatever that meant for me? Maybe I could prove the old adage true, that happiness is the best revenge. Jos's words echoed in my mind long after she left that day. In fact, I still hear them, but I wanted to know more. How could I stop the cycle? What could I do to save myself? Thus I began to learn the art of putting one foot in front of the other. A realization was dawning upon me that a life is made up of every moment, every movement, every choice, every action. I was discovering that to actually change one's life and way of living is a very practical process. It demands deconstructing everything that goes into a day and then making a real choice at every step as to whether or not this action, behaviour, choice, word was something that I wanted to add to my day or leave out. I felt like a toddler learning to walk. Creating a life comes naturally, sequentially to most people, part of a human being's growth and development. But I had bypassed that naturally unfolding route to adulthood. I had used drugs, alcohol, relationships and perfectionism to control my fear of growing up and taking responsibility for the person that I was. And underneath, the person I was meant to be had become completely obscured. Paradoxically, I had seen and experienced things that made me feel much older than my years, and yet my psyche responded as that of a child. And all I really knew about myself was that I felt bad a lot and I didn't know how to change it. It certainly was challenging to peel life back to the fundamentals. So, first things first, I started with getting up in the morning. Wake up, get up at a reasonable time. Staying in bed too long after waking was the opportunity for dark thoughts, despair and hopelessness to settle in. Keep moving, have a shower, put on clothes. Breakfast. A new me had to start eating better. What do people have for breakfast? What would I like to have for breakfast? I did not even know what I liked to eat. Okay, so far so good, but time to set some goals. Goal number 1. Get through to morning tea time. This is what people do. They have breakfast. Later they have morning tea. And such points provide the framework around which the day can be built. What to do till morning tea time? How about a walk? People who aren't at work take walks. Okay, slot that in between breakfast and morning tea time, a short walk. Keep moving and try not to give attention to the negative thoughts, doubts and fears. Self-talk. Focus on the good things about the day. Nothing bad is happening at this moment and I'm doing the best I can right now. And that's how I did things in the early days. I took life in bite-sized pieces, creating goals of getting through to the next marker, usually meal times and bedtime, and putting even just one activity into each time slot. It sounds simplistic, but most importantly, it was achievable. Each small success could build on the one before. It was important to my fragile self-esteem to set myself goals I could actually achieve and steer away from setting myself up to do things I wasn't ready for. The last thing I needed were any more self-defined failures. Structure had been missing in my life recently, with the exception of the imposed rigidity of hospital life. I needed a new routine, even if it seemed contrived. At least it was movement. I was now recovering, and I had to work at that. It was clear that it was not going to happen through sitting around feeling sorry for myself and taking lots of pills.